Today I want to talk with you about something differently, because I noticed something. Over more than 200 million messages are sent out on LinkedIn every single day. It's an insane number, and in the next 3 to 5 years your ability to master cold outreach and be able to stand out from your competition could be more valuable than your entire marketing budget. But recently I've noticed some major shifts that have revealed something shocking about the future of cold outreach. And if you're trying to grow and scale your business using cold outreach going into 2026, this might be the best and most important thing you learn all year. I know this because I've been in the trenches of cold outreach for the last 7 years and successfully bootstrapped a cold outreach company to over 8 figures. So to help you, I wrote down 5 of my biggest takeaways from what I'm seeing right now. I'll talk about how this affects the future of cold outreach, and on every single point I'll also talk about how we can make this practical for you to apply. So no matter if you're a founder, just started out, if you're successfully growing and scaling right now, or if you work for an established company, so let's get in. These are the trends that are going to matter the most as we move into 2026, and I'm not just sharing theory here. There are insights I've taken from building an 8-figure outreach company myself, running outreach every single day and seeing thousands of campaigns from different industries. And for each point I'll explain what the shift is, why it matters, and how you can use it today. Even if you don't have a big audience or a big sales team, the first shift you need to be aware of is this: cold outreach is dying and warm introduction is taking over. And let me explain this, because for years cold outreach was basically the same thing. You simply find a list, you blast a follow-up message, and you hope someone replies. And this worked in 2018, it even worked okay in 2020, but in 2026 it's being replaced with warm outreach. And nowadays people are getting hammered with messages. Even I get 40 to 50 cold messages a day across LinkedIn, email, DMs. So even if you think you're personalizing, it's still tough to stand out. Prospects see the same templates, the same line, the same fake personalization, and they delete everything instantly. So believe me, the future isn't cold outreach. Instead, it's relevance and signal-based outreach. Keep that in mind. And this is where intent signals completely change the game, because intent signals tell you who is already paying attention before you ever send a message. They tell you why someone might care, like if they viewed your profile, when to reach out, for example right after they engage with one of your posts, and what to say because you can reference the exact action they just took. The second shift you need to be aware of is this: mass messaging is dying and micro-targeting is taking over. And honestly, this might be one of the biggest mistakes I still see founders and sales team make. And for years the mindset was quite simple: just send more messages and you'll get more replies. But in 2026, sending more messages usually means getting ignored faster. And why is that? Because everyone has access to lead databases, enrichment tools, automation, AI message writers, and now with AI and new free sales tools popping up literally everywhere and every single day, easier than ever for anyone to spin up an outreach campaign within 10 minutes, which means blasting thousands of generic messages is easier than ever. It's a commodity. Here's what works going into 2026: smaller lists, sharper filters, higher intent, higher relevance, and you don't need 1,000 strangers who don't know you. You need actually 50 people who are actively thinking about the same problem you solve. And the only way to do that is to get extremely clear on your ICP. A real ICP is specific. It sounds like founders of B2B SaaS companies with, let's say, 10 to 50 employees who recently hired sales roles, post about outbound or pipeline problems, or raised a seed or maybe a Series A in the last 12 months. And when you're that specific, your reply rates instantly go up, because your message finally sounds like it was written for them and not for everyone. And here's why this matters so much. Outreach volume goes up every year, but attention stays the same. So then only the most relevant messages win. Micro-targeting lets your message feel personal before your leads even read. And now, how do you actually apply this in real outreach? First, you build a hyper-specific ICP. Literally write it out like a checklist, and then filter your list using that ICP. Only add people who match your super specific ICP. And finally combine your ICP filters with intent signals. And this is where the magic happens, because now you're not guessing who to contact, you're contacting the right people at the right companies and at the right moment based on something they just did. And the third shift you need to understand is something I call the barbell strategy of outreach. And this is one of the biggest unlocks I've seen in the last 12-18 months. And here's what this means. On one side of the barbell you go broad, and on the other side you go deep. And when you combine both, your pipeline gets stronger on both ends. And let me break it down. The broad side is your content. Short videos, LinkedIn posts, maybe carousels, anything that reaches the mass. You're not trying to close deals or convert people here. You're just attracting the right people into your world. Because every time you post, you create intent. People visit your profile, they like or comment, they maybe watch your videos or otherwise become familiar with your brand. And those are all warm signals. And here's the crazy part. You can generate hundreds of warm signals a week without sending a single cold message. Then on the other side of the barbell you go deep, meaning you take the top 1-5% of people who show the highest intent and you reach out with short, simple, personalized messages. For example, hey, I saw you like my post on outbound signals. Curious, are you doing outreach right now or just exploring ideas? Or notice you watched the full video I just posted. What are you trying to improve in your outreach right now? This creates insanely high reply rates because the message is relevant to the exact thing that they just did. And meanwhile, most people only do one thing aside of the barbell. They either post content with no follow-up or they only do cold outreach with no attention engine. But when you combine both, you create a self-feeding pipeline and your content generates the attention and then your outreach converts into attention. Each reinforces the other. This is exactly how we grow Expandy and how most top creators and founders are building their pipeline today. The next shift you need to understand is this. Your outreach channel is now your digital headquarters. Years ago, the most important place for your business was your website. This was where people want to learn who you are, what you do, whether they should trust you. But that's not how people buy anymore. Today, it's your personal brand. It means your LinkedIn profile, your content, your messages, your comments, and so on and so forth. And this is where people decide if they trust you. And in many cases, it's actually more important than your entire website. Because here's the truth. People buy from people, not logos, not landing pages, actual people. And right now, people are checking out you more than they're checking out the company you work for. They care about your personal brand, your content and profile, not your company page. And if your audience sees you're posting consistently, sharing value, engaging with people in your industry, you automatically become more credible and trustworthy. And this is why I always tell founders and salespeople, your LinkedIn presence is not a nice to have anymore. It's actually a revenue channel. So every post you publish or DM you send is now paving the way for your future outreach to land better. Once people recognize your name and content, your messages no longer feel cold. It becomes actually warm and familiar converts. So here's the practical takeaway. You don't need to become a LinkedIn influencer and post every day, but you do need to show up consistently. And that could be, for example, things like posting one simple insight a week, or maybe sharing a lesson from client calls, reposting industry news with your quick take, sending 10-20 warm messages per day. And over time you build a reputation as someone who knows what they are talking about. So when your outreach message hits their inbox, you're no longer a stranger. You're actually someone they trust. Remember, your digital headquarters isn't your website anymore, it's you. The last shift you need to understand is around AI. And this one is important because most people are getting it completely wrong. AI is not here to replace real outreach, it's here to support real outreach. Think of AI as your co-pilot, not your clone. When people fully automate outreach with AI, they end up sending the same generic messages as everyone else. And this is because AI is trained on existing data, so it often defaults to the most average version of a message. And you've probably seen messages like, hey, first name, saw you work in marketing, I help people like you get more clients and wanted to reach out. And the future isn't AI sending messages for you, but rather getting the AI to do the heavy lifting. Instead of letting AI drive the entire your sequence, use it for what it's actually good at. Quickly summarizing a prospect's profile, pulling key facts from their recent posts, highlighting what's changed on their company page, for example, and so on and so forth. But you add the human context and decide what the message should feel like, because that's the part AI can't replace. And this combination is where the magic happens. AI does maybe 80% of the work and you improve on the last 20%. So remember, AI won't beat you, but the person using AI the right way absolutely will. Alright, those are the 5 biggest shifts shaping the future of cold outreach going into 2026. And if you want to go deeper into this stuff, click right here, as on that video I'll break down the best advice after generating over 30 million revenue from LinkedIn, so you can plug those lessons straight into your current strategy. I'll see you there.